And I was like, oh yeah, we have to do some like Skype auditions. And I kind of was like, oh, Skype auditions, they're the worst, right? But now, like,
here we are. Now they're the best.
Now
that was the only way we did it.
Hi, my name is Megan Jensen, and I'm the Director of Programs for the American Theater Wing, and I'd like to welcome you to the Network for Emerging Leaders in the Theater. The network bridges information and access for emerging theater leaders by providing conversations, insight, connections, and networking opportunities for young professionals interning and working in theater administration roles, both artistic and executive. You can support the American Theater Wing and help us continue to provide free resources like this conversation today to the next generation of arts workers. There is no donation too small. We're sending a link right now via the chat, so you can go ahead and give us a donation or make a contribution by visiting us at americantheaterwing.org.
Thank you, Megan. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to be here today, especially moderating a conversation with casting directors, folks who I work with intimately and often, and some great folks today. So I'd like to ask Bernie Telsey to turn his camera on. Bernie has cast Broadway shows such as Rent, Wicked, Hairspray, In the Heights, Kinky Boots, Hamilton, national tours, off-Broadway regional productions all across the country. He's also worked in film, some recent projects, Ben is Back, The Greatest Showman, Into the Woods, the upcoming Respect, In the Heights, Dear Evan Hansen films. Bernie is an incredible human being, someone I know well, and really happy to have you here, Bernie.
Happy to be here.
Welcome, welcome. Erica, we have Erica Jensen. Please come by, Erica. Erica is 1/3 of the Artios award-winning team of Calleri, Jensen, Davis. She's worked steadily in film, television, theater for over 20 years. Her career began with an internship at the casting office at Playwrights Horizons, where she met James Calleri and discovered her love for casting. Erica, so happy to have you here today. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
Destiny, we have Destiny Lilly, someone I've worked with a lot too. Hey, Destiny, welcome, welcome. Destiny is a casting director based in New York. She recently cast the independent feature film, The Subject, which won Best Narrative Feature Award at the 2020 Art of Brooklyn Film Festival. She's cast plays and musicals for Classic Stage, New York Stage and Film, MCC, Atlantic, Second Stage, Center Theater Group, Williamstown. Like I said, I've worked with Destiny a lot, and she's fantastic. So I'm glad that you're here today, Destiny. Welcome. And then we have Tara Rubin. Tara started her company in April 2001 after working for 15 years as a casting director at Johnson Liff Associates. At Tara Rubin Casting, she and her colleagues cast the Broadway musicals School of Rock, It Should Have Been You, Gigi, Bullets Over Broadway, Big Fish, Mamma Mia, Young Frankenstein, hell of a lot. They recently completed the 12th season as casting directors for Yale Rep, and worked with La Jolla, Williamstown as well, Dallas Center Theater, Arena Stage, so many. And Tara serves on the board of the Casting Society of America. Tara, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, great. So that is everyone who's joining us. So like I said, I work with casting directors a lot. I work with some of you, not all of you. It's a crucial component to the process of putting together a play. And it's a relationship that, you know, as a director, I really rely on. You know, we have a lot of intimate conversations. You know, you all are sounding boards. You all are also like, you bring folks who, and actually affect shows sometimes in ways that, you know, I've had conversations with casting directors where you really rethink a role or a world of a play because of those conversations. So it's crucial, but it's also so behind the scenes that unless you're like industry folks, like it's such a beautifully invisible part of it. And the same, I would imagine, goes for folks who are interested in being casting directors, because it's something really kind of nebulous about the path to being there. So I'm going to be asking you just to share a little bit of your path, just as inspiration, and also just like, you know, letting us know that there is no one way to be a casting director, because you all represent such beautiful ways of arriving to the same destination. Destiny, can I ask you to start off and just tell us about like your path, how you got into be a casting director?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I started out, Saheem, I wanted to direct, and I was directing plays for a while. And then I was like, how do you make a living directing? I was like, this is tough, but I had the opportunity to help cast some plays at the Ensemble Studio Theater, where I had a residency there at the time. And then I was like, oh, I love this. This is like so much fun. I love like all the different actors and like bringing them in and hearing them do it differently. And I always, as a director, kind of felt a little disappointed once the cast was set, because I was like, oh, like there's no new person, like this is it. Like I was happy, but it was also like, oh, it's always nice to like see what else there is. But I like casting because it's like the best part of the directing process for me. I just get to do that over and over. So yeah, that's how I got my start.
Amazing. Well, and that's why you're so great with directors, because you were in those shoes before, so you understand what it's like. Great. Tara, can I ask you to tell us about your path to being a casting director?
Yes, thank you. I was working for a producer, and we were producing a play by Emily Mann called Execution of Justice, which was about the trial of Dan White, the person who killed Harvey Milk. And I really loved working with the casting directors, and it just happened that the show was artistically quite successful, but not financially successful. So it closed rather early, and it's shortly after it opened. And the producer was a really colorful character named Lester Osterman, who had done all kinds of crazy things in his career, and he retired. And so I needed a job, and I went to work for the casting directors who had cast Execution of Justice, and I stayed there for 15 years. So I thought I wanted to be an actress, because I didn't know that there was really anything else you could do. And kind of like destiny, as soon as I started casting, I realized this was exactly where I wanted to be. And it kind of used everything that I had learned up till that point in terms of my my university training and everything. So yeah, I don't plan on going anywhere else.
Good. I hope you don't, because we need you. Thank you, Tara. Bernie, what was your path?
Sure. I had gone to school for producing because my dream was to start a theater company. That's what I knew I wanted to do. And then upon graduating, my teacher, who was working in Broadway, was setting up job interviews for us with producers and general managers, and I didn't want to do a full-time job because I was going to start my own theater, which was going to be, full-time right away, of course. And so she said, I know these two casting directors, Meg Simon and Frank Human, who are looking for a part-time person to do their accounting and all of their bookkeeping. And I was like, great. That was the one thing my mom told me I had to do, was learn accounting in college. And I just started working for them. And like the rest, I fell in love with it. I mean, obviously I knew what casting was as a young, actor or a college student, but the minute I was there and all of a sudden going to the theater every night with Meg and Fran, or being in the audition room or signing people in, all of a sudden I just started, it was like falling in love every day with another actor, and I'll never forget. And I just stayed there like 7 years, until I was doing more and more casting, and then, just kept doing it because it was such a fun job.
That's beautiful, Bernie. And I should mention to folks who may not be aware, but Bernie also is one of the 3 artistic directors of MCC Theater. So you never let that producing hat completely go away. I mean, he's actually running a successful off-Broadway theater. They just moved to a brand new space 2 years ago. So yeah, that's excellent. That's excellent. Erica, you share your path to being a casting director?
Sure, yes. I also started as an actor. I was in graduate school and getting my MFA in acting, and part of the requirement for graduation was to do an internship with a theater company. And I decided to do an internship at Playwrights Horizons, which is off-Broadway theater in New York City. And that's where I met James Calleri and Elaine Aldaffer. Elaine Aldaffer is the casting director at Playwrights Horizons now. James was the casting director then when I started 20-something years ago. And I also, to echo everything that's already been said, I fell in love with casting as soon as I discovered what it was. Unlike Bernie, I had no idea what casting was. I was an actor and I had no clue. It wasn't part of my actor training. So when I learned what casting was, it was really exciting because I didn't know that was a job. And so it was like, oh, I could do this every day? Okay. And so that's what happened in my very first day at Playwrights Horizons. They were working on a play, Christopher Durang play. So grad student going into this place where Christopher Durang was hanging out was just huge. And then seeing all these amazing actors coming in, like people I'd seen on television, and making that connection that like TV actors could also do theater was kind of mind blowing at the time, because again, I was so insulated and I had no idea what that crossover was or what that looked like. So all of it was just really amazing to me. And like everybody said, I fell in love with it, and I thought that it would be a great career path if I decided not to be an actor, which is exactly what happened. So
That's amazing. Thanks, Erica. Yeah. So there's like directing, producing, a couple of actors. Like there are gateways to becoming a casting director, it seems, right? Like ways in which you intersect with the industry and then find your way into that. So that is there a program? Is there a degree one can get somewhere for casting? Is anyone aware of that?
There isn't the college specific program, like that's your major, but more and more as the casting profession has become more recognized and more nationally known since when the four of us started, we, and along with many other CSA members, are all doing, whether it be sound, seminars or, 8-week classes at many of the universities, like they're all doing it, from North Carolina School of the Arts to Pace to even NYU. They're all doing like 6 weeks with casting directors and starting to learn about the profession. And then there's like CSA, we have a whole mentoring and an education program for people that want to go into casting. So again, it's still tricky. Like the average person might not know that it is a field that is recognized and you can earn a living. And, if you work in the film and TV, you could be a union member and get health benefits. And, there's things like that that are becoming more and more known, but there isn't like I don't believe a one-time, college degree in it.
Got it. And in terms of CSA, in terms of your union, like I'm in SDC, the Directors Union, which supports like fellowships and observerships. Does CSA offer something similar for like young and aspiring casting directors to be able to? Yeah, they do. Okay. Yeah, Tara, I see you nodding.
Well, we have a training program for young people who want to go into. It's pretty much directed toward film and television casting at present, but we're working on adapting it to the theater also. And then there is a lot of CSA members participate in a TEPR semester program, which is a program that's a consortium of colleges come to New York, and they have different educational opportunities through that. So the CSA website is the place to go to find out about our education wing of CSA.
Got it. Thank you. So those are my questions. There are a couple of questions that have come in from folks, and I'm just going to bring them up, and maybe I'll ask certain folks to answer them just to articulate destiny. There's a question that came in about like, what is the hardest thing about getting started in this field? What would you articulate for yourself as like one of the biggest barriers or obstacles that you found to getting started?
I think the hardest thing is that, especially, up until recently, it's very much a field where it's like who you know, and a lot of the jobs are through referrals and not necessarily posted anywhere. So it's like, oh, if you're like, oh, I want to, be like a casting assistant to start out, sometimes those jobs are often, people like it's not advertised anywhere. So if you don't necessarily know the right people, then those aren't open. But like as an industry, especially over the last year, we've been working to take down some of those barriers and having like, like Tara was saying, through the CSA, we also have a mentorship program where I think there are about 100 CSA casting directors who mentored, aspiring casting professionals and people who are assistants or interns or are looking to move their way up. So, but I think that's like the hardest thing. It's just kind of like knowing the right person to talk to, and kind of, because there aren't like, especially on the theater side, it's kind of a little concentrated in terms of in New York, there are like, maybe like 8 or 9 like offices that work. And then there's independent casting directors as well. So finding those opportunities can be tough. But the thing I always say to people is like, I started out like, yeah, I had this, like I was directing, and then I had this like residency and I started casting, but then I turned to everyone I knew and I said, what can I cast for you? I cast like web series, commercials, industrials, like I cast everything I could get my hands on, short films. And that's really how I started to like build a resume so that I was ready to like work on bigger projects when they came along.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks, Destiny. Bernie, can I ask you just about, in terms of the industry and people of color in the industry, like what do you at Telsey imagine like in terms of goals, in terms of like creating more equitable and inclusive space, either behind the table or like just in general in terms of your company? Like what are some of the steps you've been thinking about?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, because as Destiny was saying, so much of the past in, you know, like at least the first 15, 16 years of my office, you know, you always grew on a Friday and you needed someone on Monday. And it was always, oh, let's ask the best intern at the moment. Do you want a job? You want to go into this field? Let's work. And, you know, if I look back at my own office, it's filled with people who've all been there 15, 18, 25 years. Now, that's not an excuse, but it's clearly been a revelation in this last year of there really hasn't, except for like the last 3 years, maybe, a real hiring process and a real opportunity, and recognizing that casting people, it's no different than casting actors. Like we live for the day of meeting an actor we don't know, because then we know them and then we can't wait to get them hired. And we all need to do that same thing in casting, or I think in all of our theater industry, it shouldn't be who you know, because I don't even necessarily know that intern knew that much more than the person I don't know. So me personally, we're doing the job search and we're doing the outreach and the EDI work amongst our own team, because it's not good enough, you know, to have, you know, an all white staff or make it equal, to be honest. So that's something that we're personally doing. And, you know, it's been easier in the film and TV because there's just been more jobs in the film and TV, and they've been working all through the COVID, except for maybe the first 2 or 3 months. But the theater still is dormant for over a year. But that's something, you know, that we want to change, especially since in our office, the people of color who were working on theater, like Destiny, are all working on film and TV now. So it's like, you know, we're gonna have to, you know, change and add that kind of thing. But I think, you know, the work we're doing through CSA is really helping us. It's no longer an excuse to go, there isn't anybody. You know what I mean? Because that's just always been an easy out. And now there are so many people. I mean, in the 7 months that we've all been quarantined, you know, between the Mentee program and between all of these startup, you know, Racial Justice just did something with 12 casting professionals, and already we've been interviewing them, and they just did, you know, a 3-month class with different casting directors around town. And now that is better experience than any internship could have ever been. And now they're all prime to be hired and to be considered. So those are the kind of things. And I think it's important, you know, as a director, that changes in the room, you know, just like we wanted to change on all of the teams, from producers to GMs to, you know, writers. We've got to add that with the casting.
Yeah, and in this moment right now where, you know, we're talking about equity in a really specific way, and you know, the shift to film and TV, that's usually challenging anyway because of just how lucrative it is, you know, in terms of the economics of it. But also in this moment where we haven't had live theater, you know, work in the film and TV industry has been happening more than it's been happening in the theater. So those two things, I think, are like, you know, coming to a head right now. Tara, can I ask you to speak a bit about this too? Just also like in light of, you know, the We See You at American Theater and like the equity, the movement, like how might things be shifting in terms of how you're thinking for your company?
Well, yes, thanks for that question, because this past year, I think, has been a real kind of reckoning. I think that word is used a lot for, I know it has been for me and for my colleagues. And it's been a time for us to really look at our hiring practices and our recruitment practices, I guess, for want of a better word. So, you know, we have been doing many of the same things they're doing at Bernie's office. We're mentoring, and we've continued our mentorship beyond the CSA program with a few individual people who reached out and said, can we keep talking? And so we've continued to do that. And, you know, we know that when we come back, we need to come back in a new way, and in a, you know, in a better way in terms of that. Frankly, the issue, I guess, is that we're kind of a shattered industry, especially my office, where we basically just work in the theater. And so you know, I have people on layoff who I don't know when they'll come back. I don't know, you know, I would love to pledge that I'm going to hire, you know, lots of people in the future. And I've met so many that I can't wait to work with. I just don't know when that's going to be. I don't know when we'll be back in a place that even approximates where we were last March 12th when we walked out the door, you know. And so until we have, I think, a better sense of, you know, who's going to lead us, who's going to lead the way, who's going to step up and you know, be that CEO of Broadway who's going to, you know, to help us reopen. You know, there are a lot of question marks for me in terms of like when I'm going to be able to do the things that I want to do.
Yeah, and as with other areas of just kind of in our field, in terms of like the stories we're seeing on stage, the kinds of artists we have up there, you know, also behind the table, there's a huge push for that to look different. Again, definitely casting, you know, that's a big part of it. Erica, can I ask you, in terms of one of the questions that came in was about like, just like unsolicited resumes, right? Because so much of it is about who you know and word of mouth and all of that. Like, would you recommend folks to like send unsolicited resumes wanting to be a casting director to you or to your office? Like, what's an opinion that you have about that?
Oh, yes. And I think this is a great question because as Bernie touched on a little bit, you know, and Destiny also touched on, we're expanding, you know, our scope of who we consider to be, you know, viable. And so many like administrative type assistant jobs cross over into casting. So yes, I think if you have experience even outside of casting, as we've all revealed, we had experience doing different things before we became casting directors. So I think unsolicited resumes, if you're looking for a career change, absolutely send. You know, just a little bit about how my office is structured. We actually aren't having the opportunity to hire right now either, because the time we have the opportunity to hire is when we're working on television. And we have one TV show that is fully staffed right now, but when we get more TV, we'll have more opportunities. And I also think when theater really comes back and we have the Broadway shows that we're supposed to be working on, we'll also have more opportunities to hire. But yes, the answer is yes.
Can I say something on that? Yeah, two things to add on that. And I think they were going to say to the end of this, the one thing too that we've all done during this quarantine time, because, you know, the nice thing about casting directors, at least in New York, we all know each other. And whether we're, you know, meeting at CSA, it's a real community. And the one thing that we've learned to do during quarantine is how we could collectively work towards opening up that door for new people. So rather than me in my office just getting a resume like any of us do for anything, now they're also going into a database, you know what I mean? So that it might be mailed to me, but if there's another casting director that's looking for an assistant, they can go into that database and find that person and decide if they want to, you know, interview them. So we're trying to open the window. You know, again, like Erica was saying, what's tricky in the theater is, you know, like designers, right? Designers don't really have a staff, you know, and any of us working on Broadway or off Broadway or the not-for-profits, there aren't the positions of assistants and associates like there are, you know, television project hires 3 people. You know, the producers pay for a casting director, an associate, and an assistant. It doesn't come out of the casting director's, you know, budget. Whereas in the theater, because it's so much smaller, there's usually one fee. So it's a lot harder for people breaking in because there aren't really as many positions available for, assistants and associates. So we're trying, as much as we can to open up that window.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thanks,
Yeah.
Bernie. Thanks, Erica. All right, a couple of other questions that have come in. Destiny, someone's asking about, as a college student, what do you think I should be, any classes you think I should take in college to set me up for success? Like, what are ways in which they can prepare while they're college students, if any?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the best casting directors have a lot of varied interests. I think it helps if you have a lot of knowledge, a little bit of knowledge about a lot of different things, but specifically, organization is really key in casting. And understanding that also, we work in like the arts, but it's also show business. So I think like classes on like arts administration are great. Any classes on kind of like business administration are great, as well as your classes that are helping you learn about the theater. Like I have it, like my degree is in theater studies and English literature. And I remember I was like, Mom, I'm finally actually using that theater studies degree again, because I get to like read plays and analyze them and break them down and all those things that I used to do in college. It's like, and now I get to really apply that to my work when I was consistently working in theater. So I think that those skills are really important to be able to really work with creative people, because I think that understanding, writers and directors and actors and the work that they do is really important. I also think it's great to take an acting class to understand what it's like to be an actor, because their perspective is, being able to get in their shoes and understand what it's like for them to like, come in and audition. And I think that's super helpful. But I always just encourage you to learn as much as you can, like a film appreciation class if you're going to do film. Production, there are great classes on like film and TV production, theater production, just kind of learning everything about the business that you're moving into, because the cool thing is that we get to interact with almost everyone. So I think it's helpful to kind of know what they're learning as well.
Tara, I'll ask you the question on the other side of that spectrum that someone asked. What do you look for when you're hiring young industry professionals with minimal casting experience to join your team? What transferable skills do you look for? What key experience is necessary?
It's such a good question. It kind of varies. You work so closely with your staff and you spend long hours together. And so, I think I just get kind of drawn to people, usually people who have a great appetite for the theater, people who are theater lovers, who, if we sit down to chat and we immediately start talking about a play that they've seen, or they share something about how much they love the theater. That's always, I'm attracted to people who love the theater, because I do, I guess. I think Destiny mentioned organization, and that's really important. It's a very surprisingly, I suppose, detail-oriented kind of event to put together the materials that we need for a casting session. And I would say kind of emotional intelligence. I look for, people who like the ineffable a little bit, like he seems like somebody who this director would like, but I'm not sure that he's really going to, have a mastery of this language, or people who think in terms of those kinds of, in those ways. But yeah, I think if you love the theater, I'm probably going to be able to work with you.
Amazing, amazing. Bernie, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's, those are such great questions, both of them. It's also a taste business. And I like to get to know the person, even, if it's about, what are 5 performances that you've seen in your lifetime that you like, and not that it's a test and there's a right answer, but hearing them talk about, whether it be Mary Tyler Moore and the Ordinary People or something they saw last week, that allows me to get to know where that person might be living and thinking, or what was the last off-Broadway play they saw, or if they're coming in for a musical job, tell me some musical performers and who's an ensemble member that stood out for you in that particular show that you just talked about. You know, I mean, because I think so much about casting, even if you don't know the talent at 21 years old, you know what you liked, and it's important for you to start taking notes about everything you saw. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason I could talk about all the guest stars in The Love Boat, even though I never knew that's what I wanted to do. But that was always interesting to me as a high schooler. And you want to meet those people that are starting to think that way, because, you know, even if you don't have the casting job, you have your taste and you are watching TV every single day. You know what I mean? So start to know the players and start to know the talent pool so that you can talk about them, whether you're interning, apprenticing, volunteering, or looking for a job. So I'm looking for however I could find out that person's taste, because we're going to rely on them to have that. And then there's the technical skills, all the stuff that Tara and Destiny said. But I think it's also a lot of video tech. You know, nowadays, so much of casting, even in the theater, is done on tape. And there's so much uploading and editing and cutting. And, you know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into the technicality, especially if you're working on commercials or film and TV, but even in the theater. So that's another skill that, you know, the young folk already know how to do. So I'm looking for who really knows how to do it, you know.
I think that the taste thing is so important, and like really leaning into what your particular taste is, because I could say the same thing about directing, right? You're not looking to be able to be a one size fits all, I can direct anything. No, you have your own personal taste, your own inclinations, what you respond to. And when I'm working with a casting director, I want to feel that sense of like, you know, they're telling me what they're passionate about, what they're interested in, what they're looking for, rather than trying to be some kind of, you know, homogenous one size fits all, like, you know, kind of without personal inclination. And the lists too, it's like, I can say for sure when I, you know, in my early days of going to see shows, I would be paying attention to the designers and be like, oh, you know, this designer, like I like their work in here, and this actor, or even this casting director. So did everyone here at an early stage have those lists of like,
oh yeah,
folks?
I mean,
yeah,
Meg Simon
okay.
taught me that the first time she started taking me to the theater. It was like, she'd say, okay, before you get home, write down who you liked in the play and then talk about it with me tomorrow.
That's
you know what I mean? And all the playbills had little writing, and, you know, it's all notes for yourself, but then it starts to sink in. And I say that to young, you know, you should be doing that regardless if you have a casting job, because it'll all come back.
Right. Erica, can I ask you this question? What's one thing you wish you knew when you first began working as a casting director?
Oh, that's a good question. One thing I wish I knew. Let's see. That's a great question. I wish that I had known. I think starting out, I got very lucky. My internship was a full-time internship at Playwrights Horizons, and I was able to do that because I was in school, and school helped fund that. And then when I entered the professional world, my first job was on a television show, and I was able to do that for a few years, and I was making a living. And then when that ended, I was sort of like, I didn't really know what to do. So I had to transition a little bit to find work and find, you know, work that would pay. And so it meant, you know, going back to waiting tables for a little while. And, you know, it took a little while to really get into this profession very steadily. I'm not saying anything would have changed my path, like my path wouldn't have changed necessarily if I had had that information beforehand. But I do think it's worth noting that, at least for me, it wasn't something that I was just making a living consistently. It was a little bit more like being an actor for me for a little while. You know, it was like kind of going from job to job, and then you know, having to call together, you know, other ways to pay my rent in very expensive New York City. So I think that's something that maybe wasn't ever communicated to me when I started. that it might take a little bit before you start really moving and start settling. And you could go to a few offices before you find your casting home. And depending on like what you choose to do. So I think that's something that I didn't quite understand when I started that might be useful for people to know.
Super. That's really helpful. Thank you, Erica. Thank you. All right, so we're going to shift over to the Q&A section. Some folks who've been watching have some questions. So I'll pick out a question, and then, you know, if anyone feels so inclined, please jump in and answer. So Jenna Craig has a question. What's your favorite part about what you do? Why did you fall in love with it?
I'll start. My favorite thing is like, I like helping people get jobs, which especially during the pandemic has felt like really good to help people get jobs when so many actors are out of work. But it's like, it's a really good feeling to be like, I'm helping people get jobs. Like, and I love that. And I love, especially if somebody is unrepresented. So I get to call them personally and call them and tell them that they just booked this job that they've really worked really hard for. That's like just an exciting thing to kind of, you know, get to call them on the phone and have that moment. That's probably my favorite part, but there's so many things. Like I love casting, so there's so many things.
Anyone else have one?
Sure. I think I discovered over just during the pandemic of like not working for so long and then suddenly being on like a Zoom call with a director and a writer and an artistic director and having a conversation about theater and talking about putting this play together, which I'm doing right now. I'm actually casting theater, which like I told my partners the other day. Yeah. I was like, I can't believe I just had this conversation, and it felt so good to be back in conversation this way. You know, just like having that wonderful realization of like how much I've missed doing this. And it just felt just to be creative that way again and talk about actors this way and be able to put the breakdown out and have agents submitting and calling about plays. It's just, you know, I'm so happy.
I would say I think I love watching directors and actors communicate and work together. You know, I've seen directors say things that were just so profound, and I'd read the play 4 times and I had seen 20 people audition for that part, and then the director says something about it that just seems like, you know, how did I not think of that already? It just, it's almost like fairy dust sometimes that, you know, that directors sprinkle over a room. And so I love that part of it. And I, you know, we have continued to do some casting on tape and on Zoom for the theater, but I think that's what I've missed the most. Is just that opportunity to see an actor ask a question that you can tell that just ignited something in the director's imagination too, you know, and so that's what I love the most, I think, and what I miss the most.
Mine's a little like that, but detoured a little to the actor is, you know, when we all start casting something, we all make our lists. We all have ideas. We probably have done it long enough that we could probably cast it without even having the process because of the actors that we know and we hope. But then there's nothing more exciting than when somebody, an actor, walks in the room and actually makes you think of the piece that you had not thought of, or it was someone that you would have not cast if you only could have picked one person. And you just can't wait to share that information, you know, whether it's running back with your colleagues in the office and going, oh my God, you know what she did? You know, and it just opens up and it's like the fairy dust, like Tara said, or it's like falling in love, and like, you just can't wait. And then your mission becomes about how to get that person hired. You know what I mean? And then you as a casting director have to figure out, okay, well, Saheem hasn't seen her yet. Okay, so like, calm down, like we got to get back, you know what I mean? And it's all those avenues that you then have to play and drive, and studios and networks and producers, but you just get so excited, you know,
especially
to be able to
when it's like a surprise involved in it. Like if it's an actor who's known, you know, it's like, who knew she was so funny? I can't believe how, like, we almost didn't bring her in because we weren't sure if she really understand this humor. And then, you know, we're falling off of our chairs laughing. And, or someone who's known, you know, just done, we know from all of our regional theater work, but hasn't had that big, you know, Broadway opportunity. So like all of those like surprise turns that Bernie's just describing are definitely like the high points of a day, for sure.
And I know this isn't just for actors and young professionals, but as Destiny said earlier, you know, it's a business, it's show business. There's the art of acting, and there's, you know, coming in and auditioning. And then there's the whole other lane that you have to go down as a casting director to get someone hired. You know what I mean? Which almost has nothing to do with the talent, you know what I mean? Because again, there's so many people who get a say, and there's finances and there's schedules and there's, you know, so many other things. And that's also a joy, because that's the business part of it. You know, how do we close the deal? How do we make it happen? How do we convince the agent or the actor to do this job? You know, I mean, all of those kinds of things become sort of the crossword puzzle, you know, that you get to figure out.
This is why you all are so good at what you do, because you're so passionate about the craft, you're passionate about actors, and also there's the element of surprise, right? Like you want to be surprised by an actor. You want to have thought they can only do this, but they come in and do something completely different, you know, because actors are three-dimensional, beautiful human beings who can express themselves, you know, differently from your expectations. So that element, I think, you know, that it gives you joy and that element of surprise, I think it's really great. Thank you all. All right, Natalie Mirola has a question. Do you need to be in LA or NYC to make a living as a casting director? Are there other cities where you can make it a career?
There are a number of casting directors in like Chicago and Atlanta, you know, where there's a lot of filming there. And I think there's maybe like in a lot of other cities, there's maybe like one or two casting people kind of in some of the other cities. I think it helps to be in LA or New York, because that's where a lot of the work is. And even like all of us will also work on like regional theater as well, like outside of New York. But also in theater, some of the theaters all around the country have resident casting professionals there. Like they have like an in-house casting person at a lot of those theaters. So that would also be an option, you know, if you wanted to be in like Denver or Dallas, you know, like one of the theaters there probably has a resident casting person that they work with as well.
Super. Thanks, Destiny. Teresa Murray asks, what are some parallels and differences between casting theater versus casting film and television?
Well, casting theater is a longer process. It tends to be you have more time to cast a play and a musical than you do to cast a TV show. TV is very, very fast. Sometimes you're getting a breakdown out for something and you're in a room like the next day, and then you're hiring the actors the day after that. So it's much faster, and it takes a little bit more. I would say for myself in my process when I'm casting TV, it's very, very quick, and I'm really just going to like people I know right away, like actors I know, whereas with theater, I feel like you have a little bit more time to sit with it and to, and you have a different relationship with the director, you know. So the relationships are a little different, also when you're casting theater versus when you're casting film and television.
There's also a lot more business aspects to the film and TV, because casting directors do the negotiating. Like in the theater, generally, that's the general management. And in film and TV, you do the negotiating. I mean, obviously you have a budget you have to work with your producers, but you do the contracts, you do the hiring, you do the negotiating with the agents. So that becomes a whole learning trade. And there's a lot more paperwork in film and TV. As all
shorter, but a lot more paperwork. Whereas
exactly.
It's longer,
faster,
but less paperwork. Okay. Isn't it funny how life balances things out? Beautiful. All right, we're in our last 5 minutes, so I think we can take 2 more questions here. Chandler David asks, a very good question. What do you think the role of the casting director's artistic voice is in the room?
I have often said that try to serve the imagination of the director and the writer. And so, you know, whatever, sometimes I have, and I try to make sure that I come in with a collaborative point of view rather than like, it would be a terrible mistake not to cast this person, or, you know, this person, you have to just trust me. I know this person is exactly the right person for this role. So I feel like it's my job to know the director's background, be knowledgeable about the kinds of the actors that she's worked with in the past, and try to, and the text, like, what's the language of this text? What's the milieu? Like, who are the people who live in this village, or who are the people who are the right people to tell this story? And so I really try to take those cues as much as I can from the text and from the director. And, sometimes I have an inspiration that kind of might change, the course of the way a director might be looking at something. But that's never really my goal. My goal is to find the right person for the story as the director wants to tell it, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. Anyone would like to add to that? Okay. Oh, Bernie.
No, I was going to say, casting directors also, from when I was a baby in this business, we all were always open to diversity, because for for casting directors, it meant you were playing with that much of a bigger crayon box, right? And who wouldn't want to have that many more options? And, we all were trained somehow connected to Joe Papp Theater, because that was the institution that had casting directors. And all of us studied with those people who were on that lineage. But I think now, and I'm just hopping to what you just said, to what is the artistic voice, all of us have been talking to each other in this last 7 months, that I feel like now we even have more of a responsibility to actually talk about what that really means with our creative teams. It's not enough anymore just to say we're all open to diversity, but now we're feeling it's about asking those questions to those writers, directors, producers. What does that actually mean to you? Not trying to change everyone's personal, way of living, but what does that actually mean to you in the task of casting this part or this role? Because it's too late when we get to the final day and everybody has a say, because it's over then. And then you only can make the choices with what's in front of you at the final wall. And so all of us, down to the episode of a television show, to a movie, to a theater project, is what does it really mean? And making sure everyone who's going to come back to the table at the last day, even if they're not there part of the casting process, that they really are answering those questions, at least so that we know what you mean versus what you mean versus what you mean, because there's so many cooks in the can, so that's been I think we've all been, we all feel that we own that voice now to participate that way.
Yeah, thank you. And that voice is welcome. Please bring it early on. It will be welcome, as a director, I can definitely say that. Yeah. So our last question, Catherine Means is asking, how do you see the rise of self-tapes in the pandemic affecting how theatrical projects are cast in the future?
Well, I'll jump in and say, kind of, riffing a little bit on what Bernie said, one of the things is when we were working with people in the room, we only have so much time and so many audition slots. We can only see so many people live and in front of us. One of the things that's really opened up opportunity with self-taping more is that we can put out more appointments for self-tapes. We can see people that we couldn't have really seen before because they're not in New York. It's definitely opened up in a way that I hope that we continue to do as we, eventually move back into having people in live auditions, really also doing self-tapes. I remember Saheem, when we were working on Nollywood Dreams, and I was like, oh yeah, we have to do some Skype auditions. And I kind of was like, oh, Skype auditions, they're the worst, right? But now
here we are. Now they're the best. That is the only way
We're all experts on it. So I was like, oh yeah, got this. you know, we've got all the live audition software, like we're like all experts in it. So now I'm like, now I'd be like, oh, great. Yeah. We're going to do like a couple in person, couple, you know, over Zoom or whatever. And that's like, yeah, and it doesn't feel as much like, I feel like it felt before kind of like a disadvantage to the actor to be over the computer in some way, which I think is less so now that we've really adapted to that way of working.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Destiny. All right, we're going to wrap up, and I believe we're going to ask Megan to come in and close. Yes. Hey, Megan.
Hi, everyone. Well, Saheem, thank you so much. And a major thank you to Erica, Destiny, Tara, and Bernie. I mean, this was a crash course, masterclass, and all the excitement around casting. So we're really excited that all of our panelists were here, as well as all of our attendees. And as Bernie mentioned in the other panelists, there is this database that we're happy to facilitate collecting resumes on behalf of the wing for those that want to continue pursuing casting as a future career, that the wing is happy to facilitate that with CSA. So stay tuned for more details from the wing. And otherwise, we'll see you April 22nd for our next meeting on general management, which I think fits in well. So major thank you. Thank you, Saheem, Bernie, Erica, Destiny, and Tara. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.